Good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of The Message. I'm your host, Donatus King. We'll spend this next hour with one purpose in mind, and that one purpose is delivering the message that God is Almighty. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be is a piece of God. Everything that ever was, is now, or ever will be was made by God. Everything that ever happened is happening right now or ever will happen was made to happen by God. God is the master plan for all time and all creation. God is Almighty. The message is brought to you by, is produced by the Society of Knowledge. The Society is an interdenominational ministry. Our members come from various different religious and spiritual backgrounds. We have various different religious and spiritual beliefs. Although we come from different backgrounds and have different beliefs, there's one belief that we share. There's one piece of knowledge that we hold in common. And that's the knowledge that there is a being. By no matter what name we may have come to know that being, by no matter what name we may have been taught to call that being, we know that there is a being that possesses not some of the power, not most of the power, but all of the power. That's the reason we do this show, and the only reason we do this show, and that's to deliver the message that that being that personally I call God, that being is indeed Almighty. Today is January the 27th, 2022. That's right, this month is almost over with. Matter of fact, this is the last show of the month. But I remind that fact because tonight, as we are on most Thursdays, we are live. We'll have announcements, and that'll be followed by testimonies. That will be followed by our religious spiritual study. And we're reminded, as always, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. And the discussion topic tonight is Buddhism. Okay, Buddhism. That's our discussion topic tonight. Our words of inspiration tonight will come out of the book of Exodus, starting in chapter 12, verse 28. What you see on your screen right now, that is our main website, and the main website for the Society of Knowledge. And that's www.godisalmighty.org. We do have a blog. We have a Twitter account, Instagram, and YouTube. And all of the messenger broadcasts are archived and they're placed on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and you can watch a show from a year ago just by going to our YouTube channel. And that YouTube channel is DNK Messenger. You don't have to worry about writing all that down. Just lock in that main website. That main website is www.godisalmighty.org. And when you go to that website, there are links to all of our social media platforms. So you just go to that main website and you just click on the link. It'll take you to the Messenger Facebook page. It'll take you to YouTube, a blog. Again, just click on that godisalmighty.org. The society has a center located in Lafayette, Louisiana. That's presided over by Messenger Ryan King. We have an Opelousas Center, and that's presided over by Messenger Corey Levier. And we also have a Central Florida Center, and that's presided over by Messenger Tanav L. And I'm your host tonight, Donatus King. I'm presiding over the New Orleans Center of the Society of Knowledge. COVID-19, please get vaccinated. Again, I'm encouraging, and I'm going to keep encouraging everybody to get vaccinated. And if you've been vaccinated, get your booster. Get your children vaccinated. All right. Imani Temple number 49, last week, not last week, but Bishop John W. Milton, who's the pastor of Imani Temple number 49, he has been a participant on the message broadcast. He's been a member of our of our Zoom panel. and he's also the pastor of the Mayan Temple number 49 in Lafayette, Louisiana. Peace, Messenger Tainav. Yeah, Messenger Tainav. He's joining us by Facebook, and that's great. Messenger Tainav and our other Facebook watchers. If you could just hit that share button, hit that like button, start a watch party. And we're in the process of planning some events around the country. And hopefully within the near future, we will be having an event celebrating with our folks that are in the Central Florida area. So we're working on that. And as things progress, we will make sure that we notify everybody. Imani Temple number 28 of the African American Catholic Congregation is presided over by Bishop Wendy Mee, and that's located here in the city of New Orleans. And those of you that watched the program last week, you saw that Bishop Wendy Mee joined us on our Zoom panel. Messenger Tainab, you're also invited this evening to join us on our Zoom panel. Let us know what's going on. Share a little bit something about what's going on out there in Central Florida. Previous recorded episodes of The Message can be watched on television. That's right. We're not only on social media, but we're also on television. And if you're in the New Orleans area, you can watch us on Channel 76 on Wednesdays at 1 p.m. and Thursdays at 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And as I said earlier, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can go to our YouTube page channel, and you can watch previously recorded episodes of The Message. So we're multimedia ministry. Not only social media, but also TV. Our religious spiritual study, Prove All Things, Hold Fast That Which Is Good, coming out of the first book of Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 21. And as I said at the beginning of the show, and those of you that are familiar with the show, those of you that are familiar with the society, we are interdenominational. And as you see the background, you see those various symbols, and the symbols from various religions. You see Judaism, Christianity, Islam, all symbols. And that's because we're interdenominational. It doesn't matter, what your denomination, what your religious affiliation. You're welcome here at the society. And we're not here to promote one religion over the other. We're not even here to promote religion. We're here for one thing, and that one thing is to deliver the message that there is an almighty being. That's the reason that we are here. And it's a strange thing about that message is that when you really study various religions, you find that same message. It might be different words that are used to convey it, to express it, but you'll find that same message. That message is a unifier, brings people together. Some people develop rituals and ceremonies that might differ from another group, but at the core, you find that message that there's an almighty being. By no matter what name a particular religion might call that being, you find that message that there is an almighty being. And that's the purpose and the only purpose of the society. And that's to deliver the message that God is almighty. Brother Freddie, thank you for joining us on Facebook. And as always, I encourage, I invite all of our Facebook viewers to hit the like button, hit the share button. Now, having said all of that we are interdenominational, it doesn't matter what your religious background. When we study all different types of religions, all different types of spirituality. We study it, find out something about it. That's what we do, right? That's where we like to make sure that we can learn as much about different people around the world, different people here as we can. The more we know about each other, the more we find out that we are indeed all part of one body. And tonight we're studying the religion of Buddhism. So I do have some information, and kind of feeling like a college professor, be presenting some information, and hopefully it'll be something that you will find educating and enjoyable as we go through it. All right. And again, whatever you see me put up on the screen or you hear somebody call in, prove it yourself. Don't take it for gospel. Don't take it, just accept it that it is as it says. Prove it, verify it, check it out yourself. And that's Thessalonians says, prove all things, hold fast that which is good. Right? Buddhism, tonight's topic, Buddhism. And there, as you see, that's a depiction, a statue of Buddha. Okay? Now, information that I'll be sharing and reading out comes from various sources, right? But Buddhism is one of the world's major religions. It originated in India in 563 to 483 before the Christian era. And you see on the screen right now, that is a map of India. Sometimes we talk about different places around the world, and we don't really have a good idea of where they are. So here you see, and I like to put up maps so we can know what we're talking about. So on the screen right now, that's India. Okay, that's India. Okay, the country of India. Okay, and you see here, China, up to the upper right-hand corner of the screen, China, Pakistan, Afghanistan. So that kind of gives you some idea about where India is, if, in case you didn't really have a good understanding of where it is. But that's India, okay? All right, so Buddhism began with Siddhartha Gautama. And I might be mispronouncing these names, and I apologize ahead of time. But I'm doing the best that I can with these names, pronouncing them. And over the next millennia, it spread across Asia and the rest of the world. So here India, all the rest of the Asian continent, okay, we come over to the east a little bit, and the rest of the world. So this is the birthplace of Buddhism. A lot of times when we think about Buddhism, some of us might have in our mind that it started somewhere in China, but actually, no, it started in India and then it spread. All right. Buddhists believe that human life is a cycle of suffering and rebirth, but that if one achieves a state of enlightenment, also known as nirvana, it is possible to escape this cycle forever. Gautama was the first person to reach the state of enlightenment and was and is still today known as the Buddha. So the Buddha, we use that term, we use that title. There actually was a man who was given that title. Okay, now this piece right here is very, very interesting. It says, Buddhists do not believe in any kind of deity or God, although there are supernatural figures who can help or hinder people on the path towards enlightenment. So now that's something that's, even though they do discuss this fellow Buddha, they don't call Buddha a god, they don't worship Buddha. Buddha was indeed a teacher, all right? Gautama, and this is, let me go back to the previous slide. Okay, Gautama was born into a wealthy family as a prince in present-day Nepal. Although he had an easy life, Gautama was moved by suffering in the world. He decided to give up his lavish lifestyle and endure poverty. When this didn't fulfill him, he promoted the idea of the middle way, which means existing between two extremes. Thus, he sought a life without social indulgences, but also without deprivation. After 6 years of searching, Buddhists believe Gautama found enlightenment while meditating under a Bodhi tree. He spent the rest of his life teaching others about how to achieve this spiritual state. All right, a spiritual state, the state of nirvana. We're going to learn a little bit more about that. And you'll often see Buddha depicted sitting in that position that you see there. And the Bodhi tree, from my understanding, it is a type of a fig tree, right? When Gautama passed away around 483 BC, his followers began to organize a religious movement. Buddha's teachings became the foundation for what would develop into Buddhism. In the 3rd century BC, Ashoka the Great, an Indian emperor, made Buddhism the state religion of India. Buddhist monasteries were built and missionary work was encouraged. Over the next few centuries, Buddhism began to spread beyond India. The thoughts and philosophies of Buddhists became diverse, with some followers interpreting ideas differently than others. According to Buddhist tradition, when the Buddha died, one of his senior disciples convened a council of 500 enlightened monks to determine how to go forward without their teacher. And what you see on the screen now, that's an artist's rendering of one of the Buddhist councils. During the first Buddhist council, the disciples recited the Buddhist sermons and rules for the monastic order, as there was not yet a written form of Magdi, the language they probably spoke. The assembled monks agreed that these recitations were accurate and that the Buddha's teachings would be preserved by memorizing and chanting them. There was precedent for this method. The Vedas, ancient texts associated with Hinduism, had been passed on orally for centuries. But while early generations of Buddhist monks and nuns probably didn't memorize and chant the Buddha's teachings, some historians question whether its first Buddhist council actually took place. So something that we learned even when we were discussing the Bible and discussing the history and origin of the Bible, particularly the Old Testament and the New Testament, we learned that what we see written down now in those books really developed over centuries and developed orally. People passing it down for hundreds of years, verbally, orally, and then finally it being put into writing. And we learned that, we talked about that last week in regards to the Old Testament, how those were stories that were passed on from person to person, and then finally, hundreds of years later, put in a written form. So we see the same thing happen here with Buddhism and the teachings of the Buddha. The Buddha taught about 4 noble truths. Okay, when you study Buddhism, you see this come up a lot, the 4 noble truths. The first truth is called suffering, also known dukkha, which teaches that everyone in life is suffering in some way. The second truth is origin of suffering, sumadaya. This states that all suffering comes from desire, a desire. The third truth is cessation of suffering, nirvana. And it says that it is possible to stop suffering and achieve enlightenment. Okay, so enlightenment, the stopping, the cessation of suffering. The fourth truth, path to the cessation of suffering, magga, is also about the middle way, which are the steps to achieve enlightenment. Buddhists believe in a wheel of rebirth, where souls are born again into different bodies depending on how they conducted themselves in their previous lives. This is connected to karma, which refers to how a person's good or bad actions in the past or in their past lives can impact them in the future. I want to thank my wife for joining us. Thank Brother Israel for joining us on Facebook. Brother Israel, it's been a while since you've been on. Looking forward to you joining us again here on the message. As expressed in the Buddha's 4 noble truths, the goal of Buddhism is to overcome suffering caused by desire in ignorance of reality's true nature. I want to again encourage everyone watching by Facebook to hit the like button, hit the share button, and start a watch party. Now I'm gonna stop just for a second with the screen sharing. I'm gonna stop there for a second because it's very difficult, actually impossible, to do an adequate job in less than an hour of talking about Buddhism. But I'm doing the best I can, and every now and then, even though I have some prepared text, I need to stop and go off script for a minute. And you saw me read about the Four Noble Principles, and just to boil things down and put things in different language, the essence of Buddhism is that men, human beings, identify ourselves as men, as human beings, as individuals. And because we identify ourselves as individuals, distinct from the rest of the universe, because of that, there is suffering, that we are going to experience suffering. And that experience is from desire. And even though, understand what I'm saying, pay some close attention to this. Because there may be some of you that are watching and you're saying, well, I don't desire anything. You know, I don't desire any wealth. I don't desire health. I don't desire friends. I don't desire anything. I don't want anything. But then there's some of you that might be true. But then if I ask you, do you want to go to heaven? You would say, yes, I do. So indeed, you are desiring something. It's something that you want. And Buddhism teaches that because there is indeed something that you want, that's opening the door to suffering. All right? So that's the first, again, the first noble truth. And as I said, as expressed in Buddha's Four Noble Truths, the goal of Buddhism is to overcome suffering caused by desire and ignorance of reality's true nature, including impermanence and the non-existence of the self. Okay? Now that right there, that's nirvana, when the self is eliminated. Okay? When you're identifying yourself, when that is eliminated, that's true nirvana. And I will tell you something, I'm not a Buddhist, haven't studied Buddhism, but I will tell you that I've reached that point. I've reached that point through my knowledge of the Almighty, through my knowledge that everything is all part of one, that there is no Donatus over here, Tenab over there, Ryan over there, Corey over there. There is none of that. The reality is that there's just one being. There's no tree over there, no bird over there. It's one. It's one. And everything that you see or you think you see, it is indeed truly an illusion. Or as Tina Marie said, a reflection of my God. Yeah. All part of one. And that's true nirvana. When you really get to that stage, when you get to that point. Now, one of the things that I've experienced reaching that stage of nirvana is that when you get to that point, you know, I think there's a song that says one is such a lonely number. When you get to that point where there is nothing but one. That's pretty lonely. And that might explain why the Bible says that God created man. Okay? Again, going off script a little bit, but when I said there's certain basic fundamental truths that you find throughout various religions and philosophies throughout time. Certain fundamental truths. Okay, earlier. Okay, according, let's get back because do have quite a bit. We may not get to our words of inspiration tonight, but we're going to do the best that we can. According to early texts, Gautama was moved by the suffering of life and death and its endless repetition due to rebirth. He thus set out on a quest to find liberation from suffering, also known as nirvana. According to various early texts, the Buddha gained insight into the workings of karma in his former lives, as well as achieving the ending of the mental defilements, the ending of suffering, and the end of rebirth. This event also brought certainty about the middle way as a right path of spiritual practice to end suffering. As a fully enlightened Buddha, he attracted followers and founded a Sangha, a monastic order. He spent the rest of his life teaching the Dharma he had discovered and then died, achieving final nirvana at the age of 80. All right? So that's a little bit about Buddha. All forms of Buddhism revere and take spiritual refuge in the three jewels. Those three jewels are Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. While all varieties of Buddhism revere Buddha and Buddhahood, they have different views on what these are. Whatever that may be, Buddha is still central to all forms of Buddhism. In Theravada Buddhism, a Buddha is someone who has become awoke through their own efforts and insight. They have put an end to their cycle of rebirth and have ended all unwholesome mental states which lead to a bad action and thus are morally perfected. While subject to the limitations of the human body in certain ways, for example, in the early texts, the Buddha suffers from backaches. A Buddha is said to be deep, immeasurable, hard to fathom as is the great ocean, and also has immense psychic powers. Theravada generally sees Gautama Buddha as the only Buddha of the current era. While he is no longer in this world, he has left us the Dharma, the teachings, the Vinaya, the discipline, and the Sangha, the community. There are also said to be two types of Buddhas. A Sammasambhada is also said to teach the Dharma to others, while a Pasaka Buddha, a solitary Buddha, does not teach. Mahayana Buddhism, meanwhile, has a vastly expanded cosmology with various Buddhas and other holy beings residing in different realms. Mahayana texts not only revere numerous Buddhas besides Sakyamuni, but also see them as transcendental or supramundane beings. Mahayana Buddhism holds that these other Buddhas in other realms can be contacted and are able to benefit beings in this world. In Mahayana, a Buddha is a kind of spiritual king, a protector of all creatures, with a lifetime that is countless of eons long, rather than just a human teacher who has transcended the world after death. Dharma in Buddhism, and I jumped ahead a little bit, let's get back. Dharma in Buddhism refers to the Buddha's teachings. It is likened to a raft, which is for crossing over to nirvana, not for holding on to. It also refers to the universal law and cosmic order, which that teaching both reviews and relies upon. It is an everlasting principle which applies to all beings and worlds. In that sense, it is also the ultimate truth and reality about the universe. It is thus the way that things really are. The Dharma is the second of the three jewels which all Buddhists take refuge in. All Buddhas in the world, in the past, the present, and in the future, are believed by Buddhists to understand and teach the Dharma. Indeed, it is a part of what makes them a Buddha that they do so. Sangha, the third jewel which Buddhists take refuge in, is the Sangha, which refers to the monastic community of monks and nuns who followed Gautama Buddha's monastic discipline, which was designed to shape the Sangha as an ideal community with the optimum conditions for spiritual growth. The Sangha consists of those who have chosen to follow the Buddha's ideal way of life, which is one of celibate monastic renunciation with minimal material possessions, such as an alms bowl and robes. The Sangha is seen as important because they preserve and pass down Buddha Dharma. The Sangha lives the teachings, preserves the teaching of scriptures, and teaches the wider community. The Sangha also acts as a field of merit for laypersons, allowing them to make spiritual merit or goodness by donating to the Sangha and supporting them. In return, they keep their duties preserved and spread the Dharma everywhere for the good of the world. Brother Troy, thank you for joining us on Facebook. Buddhism, like all Indian religions, was initially an oral tradition in ancient times. The Buddha's words, their early doctrines, concepts, and their traditional interpretations were orally transmitted from one generation to the other. The earliest oral texts were transmitted in Middle Indo-Aryan languages called Prakrits, such as Pali, through the use of communal recitation and other mnemonic techniques. The first Buddhist canonical texts were likely written down in Sri Lanka about 400 years after the Buddha died. The texts were part of the Tripitakas, and many versions appeared thereafter claiming to be the words of the Buddha. Unlike what the Bible is to Christianity and the Quran is to Islam, but like all major ancient Indian religions, there is no consensus among the different Buddhist traditions as to what constitutes the scriptures or a common canon in Buddhism. The general belief among Buddhists is that the canonical corpus is vast. This corpus includes the ancient sutras organized into Nikayas or agamas, itself the part of three baskets of texts called the Tripitakas. Each Buddhist tradition has its own collection of texts, much of which is translation of ancient Pali and Sanskrit Buddhist texts of India. Some key Buddhism beliefs. Okay, so we've talked about the origin of Buddhism, the development. So now, what are some of the key Buddhism beliefs? The followers of Buddhism don't acknowledge a supreme God or deity. Okay, don't acknowledge that. They instead focus on achieving enlightenment, a state of inner peace and wisdom. Okay? A state of inner peace and wisdom. And I beg to differ with this information that I'm reading out right now, that followers of Buddhism don't acknowledge the supreme God or deity. My understanding, okay, this is my understanding. My understanding of Buddhism is that indeed Buddhism does acknowledge a supreme God or deity. And that supreme God or deity is the one. Okay? When you get past all of the illusion, when you get past all of the separation, when you come to the true essence, that is the supreme God or deity. When you achieve nirvana, when you achieve that state where you realize that there is nothing but the one, and that one is the supreme deity, the supreme God. When followers reach this spiritual echelon, they are said to have experienced nirvana. The religion's founder, Buddha, is considered an extraordinary being, but not a god. The word Buddha means enlightened. The path to enlightenment is attained by utilizing morality, meditation, and wisdom. Buddhists often meditate because they believe it helps awaken truth. And that's a real popular term that's going around nowadays. Folks talk about how woke they are. Now, man, I'm really woke. Yeah. Well, this spirit of awakening, that's something that Buddhists have been talking about for thousands of years. For those of you that have watched the show, you know in the past we've talked about the chakras and how the kundalini and how folks develop and get to a point of this realization of who they are and what they are. Sounds a whole lot like the Buddhist concept of nirvana, okay? Reaching that realization of who you actually are and what you actually are. There are many philosophies and interpretations within Buddhism, making it a tolerant and evolving religion. Buddhism encourages its people to avoid self-indulgence, but also self-denial. Buddha's most important teachings, known as the Four Noble Truths, are essential to understanding the religion. Buddhists embrace the concepts of karma, the law of cause and effect, and reincarnation, the continuous cycle of rebirth. Followers of Buddhism can worship in temples or in their own homes. Buddhist monks follow a strict code of conduct, which includes celibacy. There is no single Buddhist symbol, but a number of images have evolved that represent Buddhist beliefs, including the lotus flower, the eight-spoke Dharma wheel, the Bodhi tree, and the swastika, an ancient symbol whose name means well-being or good fortune in Sanskrit. Today, many forms of Buddhism exist around the world. All Buddhists live by 5 moral precepts, which prohibit killing living things, taking what is not given, sexual misconduct, lying, using drugs, or alcohol. So I could see a few reasons up in there I couldn't be a Buddhist. Okay? There's some of those I don't live by. All right. You hear me talk about the path towards enlightenment, and there's the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path. And let's get this up on the screen. The Buddha taught his followers that the end of suffering, as described in the Fourth Noble Truth, could be achieved by following an eightfold path. In no particular order, the Eightfold Path of Buddhism teaches the following ideals for ethical conduct, mental discipline, and achieving wisdom. Okay, and those 8 steps are right understanding, right thoughts, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Okay, and as you see, different names used, but this is the 8 spoke. We read about the Dharma wheel. There are the 8 spokes on it. As you count that, 8 spokes, and that's the Eightfold Path. A Buddhist temple or monastery is the place of worship for Buddhists. And as we read earlier, that Buddhists also worship in their homes. Most traditional Buddhist temples don't require followers to attend worship, prayer, chanting every week. Only believe in this doctrine as truth. And like I say, most traditional Buddhist temples don't require followers to only believe in its doctrine. They don't limit themselves to one temple, religion, sect, or organization. They can visit many temples and pray to other gods. And they don't say that there's compulsory ties to the temple. Okay? Yeah, what you see on the screen now is the Buddhist service. Most common Buddhist practices include chant, vegetarian lifestyle, which is optional, meditation, and following the Four Noble Truths of Buddha. Christians are welcome to visit Buddhist centers and temples, and there are even Muslims who visit the Buddhist centers to learn about Buddhism. Buddha is not a god, and people are allowed to believe in their God while practicing Buddhism. Buddhism is not contradictory to Christianity, Islam, science, and modern lifestyle. Buddhism is a liberal, open-minded, and accepting religion. There is no form of compulsion to donate money. Not surprisingly, Buddhist temples, centers, services, and rituals vary widely depending on the tradition, location, community, and whether the place is run by monastics or lay people. But what they nearly all have in common is an open door policy that welcomes people of all faith, traditions, and backgrounds to visit and take part. Many places offer weekend meditation sessions or services to accommodate working people, but plenty of temples hold services every day, and sometimes even multiple times a day. And most offer introductory sessions where beginners can learn the protocols of the tradition and basic practice instructions. Often a service will begin with chanting or prayers, followed by a period of meditation. You can join in chants and prayers if you care to. You will most likely be given a book or text to follow along. For those not accustomed to sitting in meditation on a cushion on the floor, or we have physical constraints, chairs are almost always provided. After meditation, a teacher may offer a Dharma talk, a sort of sermon that addresses some aspect of the Buddha's teaching. A few guidelines apply to nearly all settings. Dress modestly with clothing that covers your shoulders, midriff, and legs, and remove your shoes before entering the main meditation hall or shrine room. Use a soft voice if you need to speak. Avoid pointing the soles of your feet at the Buddha image on the altar or at the monks, nuns, or teachers. To do so is considered disrespectful. You may put your hands together and bow upon entering the temple, but as a newcomer, you are not necessarily expected to do so. If you are visiting a temple in a Thai or Sri Lankan tradition, gathering and services usually involve a daily offering of food to the monks and nuns. You are not required to bring anything, but you may, if you wish. As I said, this is Buddhism in a nutshell. I encourage you to do your own research to find out a little bit more. Brother Tainab, as Brother Tainab is reminding us on Facebook that, and I was speaking about the Dharma wheel with the 8 spokes. Brother Tainab reminds us that there are 8 rays on the universal flag of Islam. Brother Thomas, thanks for joining us on Facebook. And you know, as I said earlier, when you go through a lot of the religions and you'll see a whole lot of similarities in them. And as Brother Tainab says, that there are 8 rays on the universal flag of Islam. Also, all right, and this is encouraging Brother Thomas Marshall to educate and continue elevating. All right. So as I said, I'm thankful for all of the brothers and sisters that joined in the discussions, and particularly on the Messenger Facebook page. You go to the Messenger page and go into the conversations that are there. And we have folks from around the world that are participating in these conversations with their different comments. But again, we had an opportunity tonight to study a little bit about Buddhism. And maybe some of you all will do a little bit more reading and educate yourself a little bit more on Buddhism. Okay, right now we're about to enter into part of our program that we call Words of Inspiration. And the purpose of this segment of our show is indeed to offer words that will help to inspire our viewers, help to inspire us. And we need some inspiration every now and then. Now, sometimes we need some inspiration just to wake up in the morning. You know, you might have a morning where you're laying in the bed and you just might start feeling like, man, why should I get up? I don't feel like getting up. And it might be something just as simple as, it's cold. And if I get out this bed, it's going to be cold out there. If I need these warm covers, it's going to be cold. And we need something to inspire us. And the inspiration might be, well, I better get out this bed so I can go to work, so I can make some money, pay my rent, pay my bills. Or the inspiration might be that, well, I have to go to school. I have my family to take care. Any kind of inspiration to get out that bed. A little bit more serious. Sometimes some of us might need some inspiration just to keep living. Just to keep living. We read and we hear about folks that have lost that will, that desire to keep living. We read about folks that take their own lives, commit suicide, that there's nothing that has inspired them to keep living. And it may be someone that's watching this broadcast that needs some inspiration on that very basic level, some inspiration just to keep living. It may be someone that's watching this program right now, that's going through some health problems. And those health problems might be causing them to experience insufferable pain. And when I'm saying insufferable pain, I'm talking about physical pain. We hear about a lot of people that get addicted to narcotics because they've been injured and start taking pain pills and then just get addicted to them. Maybe someone that's watching this show that's suffering from a mental state of being, whereas in their minds, their body's not hurting them, but their soul, their mind is hurting. Sometimes clinicians, sometimes the experts will call it depression. Sometimes folks will get so depressed that they just want to end it all. They don't have any inspiration, nothing to inspire them to remain living. Well, on that basic level, on that very, very basic level, I offer these words of inspiration. letting you know that no matter where you are, and when I'm saying where you are, I'm not only speaking about physically, but mentally, spiritually, no matter where you are, knowing that there is an Almighty God can be inspiring. Knowing that there is an Almighty being can inspire you. And we find words that have been written throughout the ages, those words of inspiration. And we're going to read some scriptures. All right, Brother Tenav, your fear is interfering with your peace. Amen. All right, achieving that nirvana. All right, let's go into some scriptures and see some words of, indeed, inspiration. And we'll be coming tonight out of the book of Exodus, starting in chapter 12, verse 28 through 39. Now, this is inspiring. And the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord has commanded Moses and Aaron. So did they. And it came to pass that at midnight, the Lord smote all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh that sat on his throne unto the firstborn of the captive that was in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of cattle. Now, you know, some of you all might say, Brother King, what is inspiring about those scriptures? What's inspiring about the Lord killing folks? What's inspiring about that? Well, just look at what it says here. First of all, it says that the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. So did they. And what Moses and Aaron relayed to the children of Israel was, look, you need to go out here and borrow stuff from all your neighbors. You need to go out here and kill a sacrificial lamb. And you need to take the blood of that lamb and put it on the doorpost. Now, see, understand what I'm saying. Let me take this off the screen here. Okay, let me take this off. Understand what I'm saying about what's so inspiring about that. You see, the average, ordinary Hebrew that heard Moses and Aaron talking about, look, you got to go get this lamb and kill a lamb and take the blood and put it on the doorpost of your house. And when you do that, God's going to take care of you. See, now what's inspiring to me about that is that this average, ordinary Hebrew that's sitting down there trying to take care of his family, going day to day. He might be a butcher, he might be a baker, he might be anything, just going about this, not no fancy person, just going about his everyday life. And now here it is, Moses and Aaron is going to come tell him about killing the lamb and putting blood on their door. Man, what you talking about? I'm going to have flies and stuff coming all on my house, putting blood and stuff. See, but they understood and they accepted. See, sometimes God is going to put things in our lives that we don't understand. Sometimes God is going to make things happen in our lives that we don't understand. You might be going through something right now, and you don't understand why it's going on. See, when they was putting that blood on the doorpost, yeah, flies and stuff was coming around there. And folks up in there talking about, man, why are you doing that? You drawing all these flies around here. That's not good. That's a bad thing. But because, understand what I'm saying, but because they believed in the God of Aaron and Moses, they did that. And because they did that, the angel of death passed over their houses. In your life, there may be some things that you're going through right now. There may be some things that you have to go through in the future that you don't understand. There may be some things that you might not want to happen. But when you reach that nirvana, when you understand, when you know that God is in control, you know that everything that you're going through is preparation for what God has planned for you in the future. You bake a cake, you got to crack some eggs. You got to mix up that flour, everything that you're going through. And that's inspiring. It's inspiring for me to know that, yes, I might be going through some things right now. I might be going through some things that I don't understand, some things that I don't want to go through. But remember, Jesus Christ went through some things that he didn't want to go through. He said, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but thy will be done. That's inspiring, knowing that God Almighty is indeed in control. And just as the Hebrew people were delivered by the Almighty, delivered from that angel of death, the Almighty can deliver you from whatever affliction you have. As I close tonight, may those words truly be inspiring to you. Don't give up hope. Even if the medicine isn't working, don't give up hope. Even if the counseling that you and your spouse are going through isn't helping, don't give up hope. Even if you don't know where your rent's going to come from, don't give up hope. God Almighty can indeed make a way. As I close tonight, it's my prayer, as always, it's my prayer that because God is Almighty, God can do all things. And because God is Almighty, it's my prayer that God blesses you and yours with peace. Until we meet again here next week on The Message, may God Almighty bless you and yours with peace.